Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Hosea Chanchez, and you're listening to Watch Me Win. Wednesdays, 12 noon to 1 p.m. So today's topic, and I'm going to give you guys a lot of numbers, so please try your best to write them down if you can relate or if you know someone who can. Today's topic is about suicide amongst black youth. And the reason I wanted to discuss this is because, believe it or not, either most people know someone who has either attempted suicide or is contemplating attempting suicide. That breaks my heart, particularly because the numbers in African Americans have raised over 60%, males over 60% from 2001 to 2017. And get this, females, 182%. It's astonishing. Guys, I'm going to give you the call-in number. It's 323-879-4445. We want to talk to you. Amani, say hi.
Hello.
Amani's filling in today for Alexandria. And, oh, you got to talk to the mic. I'm sorry.
Are we good?
Yeah, we good. Say hello, Amani.
Hi, everyone.
And so we're going to discuss, Amani is clearly a youth, and we're going to have discussions about what's happening in America with our young people and people in general, because the numbers are high amongst adults too, but particularly we're going to focus on youth and try to save some lives and try to save your life, or if it's somebody that you know, your family members, and get to the bottom of it. Again, 323-879-4445, Watch Me Win Radio. So, Amani, these numbers, African-American men between 13 to 19 rose to over 60% between 2001 and 2017. And African-American females increased by 182% in 2000. That's a lot, right?
That's a lot.
And we're talking about the numbers are specifically about 68,528 African-American males attempted suicide in 2017 alone. And 94,760 African-American females in 2017 alone, y'all. What is happening? I have some thoughts. But I want to get your questions, your calls. We're going to talk to Amani. And how do we even discuss this amongst your people? Like,
It's honestly just a lack of awareness, resources, knowing the signs, prevention, and how to deal with that, because we aren't equipped with that. We don't learn anything about it. And often, we talk about physical abuse, but we never talk about emotional abuse or emotional trauma.
right.
And so people just aren't aware, they don't know.
So according to the statistics, what you're saying is 100% right, because the number one rate is depression, which we're going to get into more specifically. Then there's substance abuse. Then there's mental health, which is such a wide, vast topic within itself. Family history of any priors, any of the prior things that I just named, depression, substance abuse, or mental health. And then violence. Physical violence, sexual abuse, in and outside of the home. So let's start with depression, because depression is something that everybody deals with. We all go through some elements of depression. And I want to give the people, and I would like for you to call in if you know someone or if you're the victim of contemplating suicide at 323-879-4445. So depression is something we all can relate to in a way. And some of the signs I'd like to give you guys, and this is these statistics, I'm going to give you all the specific information where these sources are. Most of it comes from the suicideprevention.com, Atlanta Journal, but there's a unanimous across the board consensus about these numbers. So depression, mood shifts, low energy, no energy, and sadness. And these are just some of the signs that people can look out for in their youth and in themselves. So let's talk about like mood shifts and low energy and no energy. I know for myself that I've been a person who's dealt with, I wouldn't necessarily identify it as depression, but when I look at the signs, I look at myself and I'm like, wow, I experienced some of these things.
Right.
And my thought process during that time, my thoughts are always in how do I prevent myself from thinking something bad? So I spend most of my time preventing myself from thinking things bad, but then the thoughts themselves, the mood shifts, the low energy, no energy, sadness, all those things are still there. Now I can get out of them because I have the tools, but what do you think some of the issues that, you know, young people, your generation is facing when it comes to depression and these signs?
I think that one of the biggest things with depression is the fact that it's so glamorized in the media. And so there's a disconnect. So when people are having mood swifts, it's just like, oh, well, I'm bipolar or I'm just crazy. And we kind of romanticize that, especially when we think about like relationships and social media, or people say I'm having a bad day, so I'm depressed. And that takes some of the power away from people who actually suffer from serious, you know, stages of depression.
Yeah.
And so because of that, it kind of invalidates how they're feeling, because then it's, well, maybe I shouldn't be feeling that way.
Right.
Because it's not taken as seriously now.
Right. And also when we deal with individuals who have those thoughts and depression, and if it doesn't fit in their box, if it's like, if there's one thing missing somehow, we can disassociate from the overall thing that it is. So if it's like, you know, well, I don't cut myself or whatever the case is, you may think that you're not experiencing these overall, these moods that lead to darker things. We're going to have a couple of stories of people who have actually firsthand dealt with suicide. I know personally I've dealt with someone close to me who attempted suicide twice, and thank God unsuccessfully, but the root of the issue is still there. So you find yourself, when you've experienced that, sometimes you find yourself disassociating from them because there's a fear that they may be successful one time, versus running towards them in our community to try to help them further. I know you have a story, right?
Yeah, from
you want to share it with everybody?
Sure. So I was about maybe in the 8th grade, and I went to this like really hard school where you had to like take the PSAT to get into, and we ended up doing like 2 grades at once. So everyone's pretty stressed. But the biggest thing at my school was it was maybe like a year where it seemed like everyone was just like cutting themselves, and it was kind of like the thing to do. So when you saw it, you didn't think anything of it. You know, were just like, oh, it's just another kid, you know. But one of my friends actually started, like, you kind of see the signs, but you don't really know what it is, especially, you know, at like 13, 14, you don't really have the language for it. Yeah. Because you know, the only signs of depression that we see on TV, it's always severe. Like, you never see the mild signs of depression. You never see the spectrum. Right. And so it's either like 0 to 100 on television. So when you see it in real life, you don't really know what it is. You just pass it off as, oh, another bad day. Or, you know, this person is just, you know, being dramatic or being extra. Right. Until one of my friends, we were leaving out of class, and she showed me her arm. And she had cuts, like, literally running up her arm. And so I pulled one of my teachers to the side, and I was like, look, her name, well, I don't want to say her name, but look, so-and-so is cutting themselves, hurting themselves or whatever. And she didn't want me to tell because she was just like, oh, I'll be okay. Like, I'm not going to do anything, like, whatever. And so I ended up telling, and they actually had to admit her because she actually had, she got diagnosed later on, but, you know, at 13, 14, we didn't know what it was.
Right.
I'm sorry, folks. So we have to start from the top of the show. So we got to hit record on this. Lord. So, your name was Sweet Baby Ray's.
Hey, what's up, you guys? I'm Hosea Chanchez, and you are listening to Watch Me Win, Wednesdays, 12 noon. I am your host, and today I have someone who's really bright, who I felt like the people needed to hear from today. She's filling in a way for Alexandra, but she's not really filling in. And this is Amani. Amani, say hello to everybody.
Hey, everyone.
Amani is really smart, bright, and intelligent. And that's the overall theme to what this experience is having people, young people, who are in the trenches of the topics that we're going to be talking about. And not only in the trenches, but are some form of a catalyst for some change in implementing into everybody's life. Now, one of the things that I know, and I hope everybody knows, is that everything we experience in this life is to help one another, to share with one another. God doesn't give you anything for you. So everything that you've learned in this life is to give away, period. Everything that you have to offer is to offer to someone else. Nothing is for you to covet all of the knowledge and the experience and the money. So that's one of the reasons why Amani is here, to help share and enlighten. Today's topic, let me give you the phone number again, or for the first time, 323-879-4445 -- X. And today's topic is suicide. Suicides amongst Black youth. And I know this is a really heavy topic for my second show, but it's something that has become an epidemic, particularly in our country, and specifically to young people of color. And believe it or not, everybody knows someone who's been a victim of suicide or has contemplated suicide. And that just really broke my heart to know that, you know, a nation of people, how many people are here, and everybody knows life. That's deep to me. I'm going to give you guys, do you have the hotline numbers? I want to give you the hotline numbers
Yes.
off the back, just in case.
So for the suicide prevention hotline, it is 800-273-8255.
One more time.
800-273-8255.
Okay. Guys. So, African-American boys between the ages of 13 and 19 from 2001 to 2017 rose 60%. African-American females increased by 182%. And in 2017 alone, we had 68,528 African-American males that were recorded attempted suicides. Now, we know those numbers might be far greater because these are just the people that actually were successful at it or attempted it that we could record. In 2017, 94,760 African-American females, almost 100,000 of our young girls, our future leaders, our mothers, our sisters, our brothers, and our brothers too, but our mothers, our sisters, our cousins, our grandparents, 100,000 people attempted or were successful at taking their own lives. Now, we got to deal with the fundamentals of what's happening here, because this is, in fact, an epidemic. I'm going to give you guys a number, 323-879-4445. Watch Me Win Radio. The topic today is suicide amongst Black people, young people in our country. Now, one of the things that I looked at as a broad scope of the problem is depression. Depression is something that we all can identify with. I don't know one person on the planet that has not, the happiest of happiest people suffer from some form of depression. And that's such a broad thing, but we're going to break down some of the signs of that. Now, these numbers, I'm not diagnosing anybody in any way, but I want you guys to be aware of the signs, because saving someone's life and saving your own life, if you are someone who's been dealing with this, is more important than, making sure the number is to a T. For me, if you can pay attention to the sign and help yourself or help someone else, that's the most important thing to me. So depression, as we know, manifests itself in so many different ways. There's not just one thing for depression. And the most common thing that we can all be aware of in ourselves and in other people is mood shifts. Low energy, no energy, and sadness as a general form of what people are experiencing with depression. Amani, I know you have some stories, and talk to me about, young people, your generation, and this wide, vast thing called depression.
I mean, depression for people my age is very prominent. And of course, you look for the obvious symptoms, which is sadness or, like you said, the mood shifts. Mm-hmm. But the issue is that because of social media and television, the way we kind of glamorize mental health, a lot of these things become buzzwords. Like being bipolar is like a buzzword for a woman who's just acting crazy. You just say, oh, she's bipolar, and you kind of just write it off, to the point where it takes the power away from people who are actually dealing with these things, and it takes away the severity of it, because we don't pay attention to it as much, because we just
label anybody as bipolar
because it's so glamorized.
Yeah. Do you think that the celebrity of today, I mean, when I hear bipolar, honestly, I go straight to so many of my peers who, they're on medication, they're bipolar, and in a way, if you don't act like them, the real symptoms of bipolar, as you were saying, the real symptoms of bipolar go undiagnosed in people, because we think everybody should be, in a way, like Britney Spears was during one moment, when just like one moment of her life, they talk about TMZ and all these other places that, she's been clinically diagnosed as bipolar. So people who don't act that specific way in that one moment believe that they're not.
Right. And I think that every mental health issue falls on the spectrum. And the only time, we kind of pay attention to it is when it's so severe to the point where we don't see the things leading up to that. We kind of write that off as just a bad day, especially for depression. Right. And the only time we ever pay attention to it is when people are literally hanging themselves or cutting themselves. And that's when, our ears perk up and we're like, okay, now we have to do something. And we end up missing out on what we could have done to help them prevent it.
Right. And so today, what I want to do is I want to encourage people. I don't have all the answers. We don't have all the answers, but the topic is such a important one in our community that I encourage everybody, please, if you have access to the internet, just go online and just type in some of the most random things about what you or your friends or loved ones may be experiencing. And I encourage you to use the information. All of it is anonymous. The platforms that I looked at that are to help people, which is the suicide prevention hotline, they're 100% anonymous. And I know a lot of people may think that, they'll report me, or it'll go, I've heard that it goes on my medical record, or it goes, I won't be able to get a job, and all these things. And that's just not true. So a lot of the misinformation can also persuade or dissuade people from getting the proper mental health care, which is another thing that we'll talk about is mental health. But the broad spectrum of the signs, according to the suicide prevention, is depression, substance abuse of any kind. If you know someone who is abusing weed, alcohol, any drugs of any kind, it's important that we have a conversation with our loved ones before it's too late. And I know I've had experiences of people who have substance abuse issues, and sometimes you find yourself feeling like it's not your place. And again, until it's too late. But during this research, I learned that we all have to be accountable for even the things that we don't want to be accountable for, or living in someone else's we're not living in someone else's life, so we feel we have no right. But as human beings, as brothers and sisters, It is not only our right, it's our duty. If you saw a kid about to run in front of a car, you saw a baby about to run in front of a car, and you saw the car coming, and you saw the kid, instinctively, 99% of humanity would grab that kid. Right. And when you think about it, there is absolutely no difference in what we're talking about. It doesn't matter if you're a child or not. You are a child of God. We are brothers. We are sisters. So we have to have more accountability for the things that we see before it's too late. Mental health is another one. Family history of any of these things that we're talking about, depression, substance abuse, and mental health. If someone in your family who's close to you, first generation, on any level, has any of these issues, you could be affected by them personally. And then the last one is violence, physical abuse, sexual abuse. If you know of anybody that's experienced these things, we have to hold each other accountable for the betterment of each other. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I know you have a story about a firsthand experience with suicide and someone that you know. Can you talk to us about that without saying his or her name?
Yeah, I think going off of what you said, not really knowing your place in people's issues, I think that that's something that we all deal with because you don't want to overstep or you don't want to assume. Mm-hmm. But I think that a part of loving someone and caring about someone is sometimes telling them the hard truths, especially if it comes to substance abuse, especially if it comes to depression. Because at the end of the day, you don't know what's going through their head. You don't know if they feel like they have a support system. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you can't just wait for people to reach out to you. Sometimes you have to take that initiative and kind of step forward and, make them aware that and mm-hmm. that you're there for them. And so going along with the story, when I was in about the 8th grade, I had a friend who started cutting herself because at our school, we went to this really hard school. It was a public school, but you had to mm-hmm. test to get in and take 2 grades at once. A
lot of pressure.
Right. And the big thing at our school was a lot of kids did suffer from depression. A lot of kids were cutting themselves. And that was kind of like a trendy thing. Mm-hmm. And so no one actually took it seriously, which kind of goes back to, glamorizing this being a sad artist or, mm-hmm. Stuff like that. And so it wasn't until she actually showed me the scars that I was like, no, this isn't right, because it just didn't sit well with me. Right. And even at 13 and 14, I knew something wasn't right.
Something wasn't right.
Exactly. Right. But I didn't have the vocabulary to say, this is, a suicide attempt or whatever, because you never think that someone you're close to would actually do it until they do. Right. Until it's too late. Right. And so when she showed me, I had to tell my teacher at the time, she's doing X, Y, and Z, and they actually ended up admitting her. And that was a big thing too. And we had to go through this whole training course at the school because it was a thing. Wow. And no one paid attention to it because it was kind of amongst the kids. None of the teachers knew because, like I said, you always see the signs of sadness and stuff like that. But mm-hmm. the school it was a lot of Black and brown kids, and mm-hmm. some of them did have behavioral issues, even though it was a very hard school. Some of that stuff, like you said, can manifest itself in different ways. And that was one of them. But when you see it in Black and brown people, you kind of write it off as something else. Or, you kind of just ignore it or make excuses for it.
Well, that's also the reason why we're having this conversation, honestly, is because, let me give you guys the number. It's 323-879-4445. You can ask us questions on the social media platforms, too. Actually, Malcolm is going to read some of those shortly. But that's a part of the issue is with people of color. We believe that suicide and taking your own life is so taboo in our community. It doesn't seem like something that we deal with. Honestly, when I was growing up, I looked back when I was growing up and I always felt that it was a white thing. Right. I never thought that it was a thing that Black people had to deal with. And now that I've become older, I realize and specifically because in our community, sometimes things are centered around church. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You have to, everything, take it to the Lord and everything from another human being. You know mm-hmm. what I mean? So, these are taboo topics, but that's the reason why we need to have this conversation, this dialogue. And I encourage you, if you are listening to this show, if you're watching us, if you know anybody who has any of these symptoms in the slightest, I encourage you to reach out to them, reach out to the suicide hotline. You look online. We're going to give you those phone numbers, actually.
So for the suicide hotline, it is 800-273-8255. 800-273-8255, and that's the suicide hotline.
We also have some more specific resources. I wish there's a way that we could like list these. Maybe we can list them on Instagram, like so people can see all the numbers. We'll screenshot this and then put it up. But there are, more tailored and specific to people of color, black and brown people, who we have that information too, right?
Yes. So we have Association of Black Psychologists, which is 202-722-0808, and Black Psychiatrists of America, which is 510-834-7103.
So we're going to take some questions. We have some comments.
People feel like you can't talk about suicide.
Oh, wait. Do we need to give you a mic? Hold on. Malcolm, come around here. One of these. Oh, here you go. This one works.
Okay, so a lot of depression in the black family, and it's a recurring comment, so I think that's something we should definitely address.
Depression in the African American community, I think the root to dealing with depression is accessing and understanding that you're dealing with it. So the first step to dealing with depression is the acknowledgement that you are going through, or someone in your family is dealing with depression. And the only way to really to access the assessment is to know the symptoms. You have to be brave enough, and one of the things that I tell my siblings, anybody in my life that's a young person, if you have access to a iPhone, a cell phone, or the internet in this world, you have access to everything that exists. So being aware that you're actually dealing with these issues is how you start the conversation of depression in the black community. And I also think that we have to embrace one another. We have to embrace the stigmas that people have, because saving your life or your family member or your loved one's life is far more important than any stigma. I'm going to tell you, you think in the moment that something is the biggest part of your life, and then you realize later, a day later, hours later, that big thing that you thought was so huge is not that big. So having the courage to go forth and assess yourself and your loved ones through identifying what the symptoms of depression are. Some of those signs, in a general sense, are mood shifts, low energy, no energy, and sadness. I know we can all identify with that. Depression is something that I know that every person I know has some of the symptoms of depression at some point in time, right? In young people, specifically young African-American people or people of color in general, what do you think some of the biggest issues are when it comes to depression in our community?
I think that a lot of times we don't want to address it because along with sadness, you have irritability, you have violence that can also be signs of depression, which I actually learned yesterday at therapy. And I think the biggest thing is that, we don't seek help because, like you said, a lot of black people do suffer from generational trauma to the point where it's normalized. And so we deal with these things and it's so normal in our communities that we don't think that we need help.
Right.
And so, when you talk about therapy, we're always like, oh, that's for white people, or like black people don't need therapy, but we probably need therapy a lot. More than
they. Absolutely. And I encourage everyone to seek out counsel. There are a lot of free resources. Most people don't know this, so I'm going to say it. There are a lot of resources. When we think therapy, we're like, I don't have $500 an hour, or I don't, you mention therapy to someone, and we instantly think about the things that we don't have based off the thought.
Excuses.
But I will tell you this. in most cities in America, and particularly most states in America, there are free resources to every one of us who need mental health, therapy, and things of that sort. And also, I'll tell you, the quickest way to get that information is to look on, like, for instance, California. You can go to california.gov, and they have the resources. You can check and see what the resources are. I think it's california.gov, but the state's web address. Let me get you guys, some of you guys to call in, please. It's 323-879-4445. Once again, it's 323-879-4445. We have a caller. Hey, this is Hosea. You don't watch me win. You don't watch me win. Hey, it's Hosea. You there? I feel like I hear somebody talking. Oh, that. Hey, you don't watch me win. This is Hosea. Anamani. Okay, we'll try to get you through soon. So right now, Malcolm, can you read? Malcolm is doing the social media and the online commentating, because a lot of you guys are typing and asking questions and making comments. So we want to hear from you.
So Marquise X said, depression is like diabetes. There's no cure for it, just treatment and prevention.
Depression is like diabetes. There is no... Well, Marquise, I have to tell you that I think one of the core problems that, and this was going to be really a topic within and of itself on this show, is I'm going to tell you personally, there are a lot of things that people tell you that are incurable. And I think we've given too much power to what people say in our lives. We've given too much effort and strength to what other people tell you. But I serve a God who all he does is miracles. Like, that's all God does all day. And we think we know. We've gotten to a point in our lives and in society where we think we know more than God. And I'm going to tell you, I would not, and my advice to anybody that feels that anything is incurable, because I believe with diet, exercise, and prayer, and we're going to have, TJ's going to come on and talk to you guys about diet, but diet, exercise, and prayer and discipline can cure you of anything in their lives, change their lives and existence. And a lot of things that we don't know systemically and with the body is that there's nothing in your body that is designed to keep any type of negativity. There's nothing, no disease, no plague, no nothing. Nothing in your body is designed, literally your cells regenerate themselves every day. You almost have a new body every day. Everything that God gave us internally in this body is designed to fight everything. Your system is created to fight. So, but that's another conversation. But I will tell you this, we have to take away this idea that in our society, and particularly in our communities, that anything is above God creating and fixing in your life. And that's the first step, belief. We're going to give you the number, 323-879-4445. Watch me win. And the overall motto of this show is about overcoming yourself, overcoming what people think about you, overcoming what people say about you, being in control of your own life. You are the master of your destiny. And it's not a privilege. It's a law. Like, God created it that way. Just like if you jump out of a 5-story building, you're never going to go up. It's a law. You're going to go down. You're going to go straight down. So I want us as a community of people, because I believe that, every human being is our own community. And we as humans have to give each other the tools to be our best selves. And I'm telling you right now, if you don't believe it, you keep tuning into the show, and I'm going to give you the tools to overcome anything in your life. And I believe that God can cure you of anything.
Can I add something to what you're
Yes,
saying?
please.
As far as the cure, I don't think that when you seek therapy, I don't think the goal is to cure anything. The whole point is to make it more manageable so that you don't get to the extreme.
Absolutely.
And so when you go to therapy, their goal isn't to just drug you up or to completely take it away, because that's impossible. It can't be completely taken away. But the whole point is to regain your power, to empower yourself, to regain control of your mind, your body, your energy, and your spirit. And so, like I said, the goal isn't just to cure it or wipe it away or make it non-existent, but it's to help you manifest that energy into something more positive.
And that's basically what I was saying, is you get to the point where you believe it yourself.
Right.
And nothing has power over you beyond your belief. We're going to take some more. Malcolm, you got some questions, comments for us?
So, No Bad Vibe 7 said, I love this topic. I did kill myself 6 years ago and crossed over. I was told I needed to go back and spread love.
Wow.
That's powerful.
You killed yourself 6 years ago. You attempted to kill yourself 6 years ago, and God said, but God, come on back. Hey, call in. We'd actually like to talk to you. If you're listening, 323-879-4445. I want to hear that story, No Bad Vibes, because I think a lot of people need to hear the essence of why you are here, your purpose. And sometimes, and all times, anything that we go through in this life will help us get closer to our meaning. And you had more work to do, and I'm glad you were unsuccessful. So call in. We'd like to talk to you. Today's topic, if you're just tuning in, is about suicides in the Black community, specifically for Black youth. Some of these numbers are astonishing. They're unbelievable. So much so that my second show has been dedicated to something that I've just been exposed to on another level. So now this is a part of my work and my purpose. But suicides amongst Black youth specifically, all over the U.S. And you won't believe the state that it's the highest in, Georgia. So Black men, Black young men, Black boys aged 13 to 19 rose to over 60% between 2001 to 2017. And Black females increased by 182% in 2017. We have 68,528 African-American males that we know of that attempted suicide, were either successful or unsuccessful, but they attempted. And then in 2017 alone, we have 94,760 African-American females who attempted to kill themselves or were successful at suicide in this day and age.
Way too many.
Way too many. One of the other things that I'm going to uncover with this show is teaching you guys your worth in this, negative social, political climate that everybody's living in, such a hot pressure cooker. I'm going to help you guys relieve that pressure and see all the promises of God in the universe, in the world, in your life here. We're going to take one more question. Hold on one second. You have a question, comment, Malcolm?
Someone said we should ask about those who have felt lost, centered to their depression, money, career, love, or family.
Those who have felt lost. Those who have felt lost felt depression based off of loss, money, career. I can tell you myself, as a person, everybody we know has experienced some form of loss. I can tell you personally that everything that I've ever lost in my life has been a catalyst to help me become my best self. So I fundamentally believe, and there's research to prove, that every single thing you go through in life is supposed to be a catalyst for something greater in your life. Take, for instance, you can even look at the Forbes list if you want to. Like, take, for instance, Oprah Winfrey. You look at Oprah Winfrey today, some of you young people, I encourage you to look at her story. You look at the amount of abuse, rape, incest, everything that woman has been through, and you see how God literally used it to help her, not only help herself, but help a nation of people along the way. And I'm only using her as an example because she's a name that we all know. You know what I mean? Even you look at Jay-Z, you look at where he came from and how he started. Most of these people go through things that if you look at them where they are in that moment, it's over. They're a statistic. But I encourage you guys to do research and see how there are people just like you experiencing the same thing. We're going to take a call. Hey, it's Hosea. You are listening to Watch Me Win.
Yeah, I just left a comment actually in your chat section. No bad vibes.
No bad vibes, man. Thank you so much for calling us. Listen, you experienced something that I think a lot of people need to have a conversation about what you went through, and I want to know about your experience as best as you can, as quickly as you can. What got you to the point of attempting to leave us?
So what you were talking about earlier, it's depression. I actually wrote a book, and I mentioned this in my book. It's depression. It's not feeling loved and feeling like nobody loves you. And that's basically what I felt like that all my life up until that point. So I just said, like, F it. I don't care. And I jumped out of a moving car.
Oh, my God.
And then I crossed over to the other side. And, that's like when I felt God's love. Because before my incident, I actually doubted God's existence. Although I grew up in church and I went to church every Sunday, it just didn't add up to me. So, like, the things I were going through in life. So that day I have felt love. And then I was told to come back and spread love and love yourself, you know? So I really love what you do and the message that you spread with the radio show.
Wow, thank you. Well, let me just say, man, you are such an inspiration to every single human being. And because of what you went through, someone else will not have to go through it. So I hope you preach and teach this message to every person that you've encountered, because talking about it is the first step. And clearly you've risen above it and you learned the lesson because you're speaking about it. But that's the purpose of life, right?
Right.
To help one another. If you or somebody that you know is experiencing suicidal thoughts or signs of depression or, mood shifts, low energy, whatever that is, if you know someone or if you yourself are experiencing some of these symptoms, please we're going to give you the number to call, the suicide prevention hotline.
Yeah, I'm kind of like past that. I actually.
Oh yeah, no, I meant for everybody else. Yeah,
okay.
Everybody else, not you. You've been there and you're not going back down that road, right?
No.
Yeah. Thank you so much, man. Listen, we're going to stay in contact with you. I have your information. I'm going to reach back out to you. Thank you for sharing your story. And thank you so much for being alive, man. Keep spreading your purpose. And I appreciate you. We all do. Humanity owes you big time. Thank you, brother. Okay, so we're going to encourage you guys to call in at 323-879-4445. And we also want to give you some prevention, some hotlines and some websites and stuff to go to. Armani's going to list those for you.
Yep. So again, for a suicide hotline, the number is 800-273-8255. And for Depression and Bipolar Support Alliance, it is 800-826-3632.
All right, we're going to take a call. Caller.
Oh yeah, I think the call got dropped. I just talk to you right now. Yeah.
So we were actually putting you on hold and gonna take. We have another call, so we're gonna take another call and we'll get right back to you. Hold on one second for us.
Okay.
Was that? Oh no! Wait a minute. I'm sorry, man. Call in 323-879-4445. Watch Me Win Radio. Today's topic is suicides amongst black youth. The numbers and the rates are astonishing. So we want to get your story. If you know someone or if you yourself have contemplated suicide, we want to encourage you to seek the help that's necessary. Some of the things that we have to do too, and we're talking about this topic, I believe that, I don't believe it, almost everything can be cured through diet and exercise. And TJ is gonna, my trainer, nutritionist, this guy right here is the real deal. He's all about mind, body, spirit, and you know, some of the things that we don't realize is that anything is attainable, but you just got to shift your thought. It feels too hard. It feels impossible, but having the tools to shift your thought will be imperative to you having the life that you desire. So TJ is going to give you guys some tips. Now, I know that a lot of diet in our community has been the issue. What you put into your body affects your mind. I'm going to say that one more time to y'all that's sitting in the back. What you put into your body affects the way you think, the way you act, the way you sleep, the way your energy level, everything. And we have to get to a place where I've realized and I'm aware that there are a lot of resources not available in particular areas, but we have to take that power into our own hands and make better choices so we can have a better life and lifestyle. TJ, say what's up to the people, man.
How you guys doing? This is TJ.
TJ, tell everybody where you're from, man, because this guy, he's got this accent, these muscles, and TJ has a girlfriend, by the way, ladies, so don't get him in no trouble. I'm putting you on blast because I don't want your girl being mad at me.
So I'm originally from West Africa, Liberia. So I grew up in New York. I also played college football at University of Maryland. Currently living in LA.
Don't give him your address, TJ.
Nah, I won't.
Okay, we're going to also talk. TJ has this whole plan to go back to his community in Africa and to help his people. And we're not going to talk about that today, but we are definitely going to talk about your plan because it's so profound. We got a caller on the line. Hey, this is Hosea. This is Watch Me Win Radio. God.
I'm Alabama. How y'all doing?
Hey, how you doing? I heard Alabama. We just got you on. Who's this?
Oh, yes, sir. My name is Rico out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Rico. You know, I'm from Alabama, right?
No, I didn't know that.
Montgomery, man.
Oh, you from the Gulf.
The Gulf. Born and raised. Nice. Yeah.
Well, I was calling again, since we're talking about our kids and suicide rate.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just make my comment and I'll hang up. I have several friends and family members that are in the educational field.
Mm-hmm.
And they speak to me about what a lot of the kids are going through personally from poverty. Parents may be hooked on drugs, maybe in prison, not being able to live a lifestyle that's popularized on videos and TV, and how that imagery affects their psyche, and also like the way you touched on the diet as well.
Yeah.
And one more thing about a lot of these kids, they have an adult responsibilities as babies. So
young ages.
And I'll hang up and I'll listen to your comments. Keep up the good work and welcome to Dash Radio.
Thank you, brother. We appreciate you, man.
That's true.
Yeah. So just quickly, my comment on that is, parenting and self-worth. Whatever human being you end up getting is a direct result of the work you put in, just like anything in life. And although children make their own choices, but the core of who we are as children, we will always revert back to how our parents made us feel, the effort our parents put in, how well equipped we are to handle challenges in this world. And I believe that it's a much different time today than it used to be back in the day. And parents have to educate themselves to equip their children with the necessities of life. You have to give your kids what they need to be the best human beings they can be. And that's not just physical. A lot of times parents think that's physical. You have to mentally equip them with what they need so they can face the world mentally. And I know a lot of parents may not have the answers to that. And most parents that I've ever met will say, I want more for my kid than I have for myself. So what you have to do is you have to educate yourself, and you can't leave it based off of, your experience and what your parents went through and what you went through. It is our parents' job. And then when you become of age, and I think the age is not 18 anymore, I think the age is 14 from the research and statistics that I've read, you have to be responsible for yourself at the age of 13 and 14. And we have to, as a society, and what we're going to do here on Watch Me Win, you can go to watchmewin.org to get yourself some tools that'll help you deal with the societal pressures of today. Before we go, we have a few minutes, but I want to get quickly, TJ, do you have some websites or something you can give them? Because diet is so important. I'm sorry I'm rushing this, y'all, because this is so, TJ is going to be back here every time I'm here because it's important for you to have the tools. So you have some websites that you could just give the people?
Yeah, as far as resources, when it comes to nutrition, there's some credible sites you guys can go through, like bodybuilding.com. They have some great resources there as far as like nutritions and supplements and what you need to take.
And don't be distracted by bodybuilding.com. You don't have to be wanting to get big and gain muscles. It's a nutritional fundamental site that'll give you what you need to have the best you internally. It's not just about being big and muscles, right?
There's a lot of resources that you can read up on. If you're just coming up in the game and you don't know as far as like what to eat, as far as nutrition, you can read up on a lot of content there. And there's a lot of people who also tend to believe that supplement is the way to go. However, I strongly recommend nutrition. So you have to read up on it and figure out, what are the resources that you need from there to help you better yourself and what you're doing.
Perfect. And TJ, will you tell people, give them your Instagram and your social media, because TJ always has, I'm going to encourage you guys to follow him. Give it to him really quick. We got like 2 minutes.
I'm on Instagram, TJ the Contender. You can look me all about there. I post daily tips and nutrition advice on there.
And I'm following him, and we do our stuff together. But we want to keep you guys informed. You are listening to Watch Me Win Radio. I'm your host, Hosea Chanchez. And before we go, I want to give you guys, we talked about suicide today. Can you want to give you guys a hotline number if you or anybody you know has been a victim of suicidal thoughts? We want you to have that number, and it is
800-273-8255. And for the Depression and Bipolar Support Alliance, it is 800-826-3632.
I love you guys so much. I'm here for you. That's what this show is all about. You, your mental health, your physical health, your well-being. And just remember that through anything you go through, God's design for you as a human being is to use it in your life to become a better you. Nothing you go through is to take you down. Everything you go through is to help you be the best you. All right, I love you guys. I'll see you next week, same time.